guys, we are here with the lovely cruise director Jess in the atrium of the Carnival Triumph, and we're about to get started with an interview. So what exactly is your role?
So I'm the face and voice of the ship when you come on for all the entertainment aspect. So I will be around hosting all the big events. I'm pretty much your MC the entire cruise, letting you know what's going on, all the fun side, but also informational as well, what you really need to know while you're cruising on board.
Is it just you, or do you have a team of staff? And if so, how many do you have in your staff?
Yeah, so I have a fun squad, and they are bringing the fun and energy to you whenever I'm not there. And I have a team of six people.
How can you tell a fun squad member from other crew?
Well, every crew member has specific uniforms. So the entertainment team in general, if they're doing day activities, and this includes our Carnival Triumph singers and dancers, they help out with different general events. So we always have the red polos with the fun blue shorts. So you can always tell who's in the entertainment team.
And we can tell you apart because I think you said earlier that you always have a big bow on.
Yes, I go by Jess from the US, and I found that when I was initially starting out that I was kind of getting lost in the crowd because I blend right in, and I was getting comments that people never saw me, and I was like, how is that possible? I'm literally everywhere. So I started wearing a bow or two, and people always said, hey, I really like your bow. And then I just went back to the same store where I found the initial bow, and now I have 11 in different colors. It's pretty tricky because I need to actually buy a few more outfits to coordinate with the bows, because I still have a few bows I have yet to fit into the cruise wardrobe.
Nice.
Judy wants to know how long her workday is.
So Judy from Facebook would like to know, how long is a typical workday for a cruise director?
Yeah, well, for a cruise director or any crew member, legally we have to abide by certain international maritime regulations, and every cruise employee cannot work longer than 10 hours a day.
Okay. So that's for all cruise-wide, correct?
Yes. But depending on the day, you might work less, which is nice. Like for my team right now, because we don't have a lot of activities on going in the ship because everyone's out enjoying port. So my team has a little bit lighter schedule today. So they get a little bit less than 10 hours, which is nice. So they can enjoy and relax. But usually on the sea days, every single crew member is working 10 hours without a doubt.
On a typical sea day, what time do you usually wake up at and go to sleep at?
Ooh, on a typical sea day, see, that's pretty tricky with being in entertainment, because we'll start up bright and early with a little morning show to give you the information for the day. So I'm up usually around 9, which isn't too bad, too early, and then I'm usually done before right around midnight. So, but I have like random breaks here and there. And I'm always kind of running around, and usually that break involves a quick change, going from one event to the next, whether it's on ship and in a presentation, then going up to Lido for some fun in the sun, and then getting ready for Elegant Night. So a lot of quick changes for sure.
So we've talked to Jamie D before, another
Yeah.
cruise director, and it seems like the constant theme is very high energy with cruise directors. How do you stay in that constant high of energy? Do you have like energy drinks or
I don't drink coffee. I don't drink coffee. I take some multivitamins. But you know what? You either have it or you don't. Everyone always asks me, Jess, what's the secret? How are you this energetic? And it just turns on. And when you're surrounded by happy cruisers, 99% of the time, I feed off your energy. You're excited, you're happy, you're here. So it makes me even more excited to make sure you're having fun.
So no coffee, no tea, nothing
No
like
coffee.
that though? I don't know how you do it. That's probably the most startling thing for me.
And if I really, really need caffeine, I prefer a soda in the morning, but never really get to that point.
Do you have access to some of the Wi-Fi, or do you also have to pay for it as well?
So most crew members have to pay for the internet as well. I have a work computer, and it's really nice that they allow Facebook on that, because I have like a fan page, and so people can communicate, like let me know if they're cruising. So that's nice that I don't have to worry about that. But unfortunately, not every crew member gets that luxury.
How long is a typical contract for a cruise director before you have to re-sign up again?
So it depends on what you prefer. Minimum is about 4, maximum 6.
4 months?
4 months,
Okay.
yes, 4 months. I'm doing a 4-month contract now. Previously, I did a 6-month contract. And then you get about 2 to 3 months depending on what you want out of your vacation, depending on how long you're here for. But I think a lot of cruise directors are now gravitating more towards shorter contracts for 4 months, because you find when you're talking, mostly just for your voice, it's just tiring.
It's draining, yeah.
After so many months. So
How long have you been a cruise director for?
Cruise director with Carnival, it'll be a year in May. I'm fairly new to Carnival. Before that, I was a cruise director for River Cruises in the U.S. And then before that, I worked my way up to assistant cruise director with Royal for about 3.5 years.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so about a 6-year career at sea for me this June, and it's very exciting.
That's pretty awesome.
They want to know what your favorite port stop is.
What is your favorite port usually?
Ooh, my favorite port? Well, being here on the Carnival Triumph, being a short cruise of 5 and 4 days, we only go to Cozumel and Progreso, Mexico, which is always fun. I mean, Cozumel is very touristy. Progreso's not as developed as Cozumel. So if you are coming on board a cruise, I highly recommend an organized tour because it's not as touristy fun yet as Cozumel. But you really get to see the history and really learn about the traditions of the Mayans, which is nice. But Cozumel's a little bit more touristy and what you kind of expect when you hear about Mexico and vacations.
How easy is it for staff and crew members to be able to leave to go at the ports?
Oh yeah, I mean, we're not in jail, so if we're free, we can get off the ship and enjoy. And that's why a lot of people are here. I mean, we want to travel the world, we want to see different places. And it's always interesting because every crew member's here for a different reason. There's some people who are here to really support their families and it's the best means for them, and there's people here for the experience of it all.
So why are you here then?
Well, I was here for the initial experience to travel, and then I started liking it more, and then I set career goals to work my way up to cruise director. So now I'm at the end of that year goal, and so now I'm just living in the moment and seeing and wondering what's next.
What were you before a cruise director if you worked on ships?
So I was the equivalent of like fun squad. Worked my way up entertainment staff to did a few fills as activities manager, it's called on Royal, and then yeah, then I came to cruise director for River Cruises, went small to come back big.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
When you come back from vacation, how easy is it to do you get to
So when you come back from vacation, are you able to choose what boat you're on, or do they automatically assign you a boat?
So we have an entire scheduling team. They try to have a permanent cruise director on ships for a few years. So, and then there's cruise directors who will do the vacation fills. So right now this ship is my permanent ship. So every vacation I'll come back here. It's mostly for consistency, especially with the senior officers, even with the captain. Like they try to have a consistent senior leadership team because it's just great for consistency's sake, and it's just great to build team morale.
How do you like your team so far?
No, we work closely together. I mean, we're a fantastic team, and especially with my team, we have different strengths and weaknesses. So it's nice to see where people on my team prefer to be.
Each other out.
Yeah, where people want to be on certain activities and other people don't want to be on certain activities. So everyone has different preferences, but as a team, we work really well together. We have to.
So you said you're coming up on your year contract. Do you think you're going to be extending, or what do you want to do in the future if not?
Yeah, I think have a few contracts in me, but that is the question, is what's kind of next. And it's more of just a personal what's next for me in my life and where do I want to go, because at a certain point your values start to change. And I've traveled, I've seen a lot of great things, I've got to the place where I want to be in my career. So what's missing in my life and where and what do I want? But it's a fun, it's a life's journey. So you have to take it and not be afraid for different changes that come your way.
When people usually retire from a cruise director, what do a majority of people usually go for a job afterward?
Mostly in entertainment. You'll see a lot of cruise directors kind of switch over to entertainment operations and hotels. And that is a question. What is after cruise ships? What is potentially land life? And that's always very
Floating
interesting.
hotels, land hotels.
Right. So and you don't find a lot of cruise directors who necessarily leave. There's cruise directors who will be here
forever.
Yeah. So, but that question is there. It's like, what's next, or what is a transition to land, and at what point do you want to make that transition?
So, what do you do for your vacations exactly?
Yeah, for vacation, I'm from upstate New York. So my last vacation, I was home from January to March. So right in the middle of winter. So I had no issue of just being a homebody and catching up on sleep is always number one. Just catching up on sleep, just seeing family and friends. And I know big travel destinations or adventures this time around, but my next vacation will be in the summer. So I have a few more things planned, but mostly just catching up with your family and friends. And I have a lot of people around in my life who are having kids, and just being a part, and you miss out on some of those moments. So try to take in as many of those moments as possible when you're home.
Is it hard to transition from like always being on a ship to going back to land for a couple months and then kind of going back to a ship, or what's the process there?
It is always tough. I mean, that transition, like where you're right near the end of vacation and you're like really just getting in, just you feel so happy at
Relax and-
home, and then like because you don't get a break, like you're 0 to 100 that
Yep.
moment you step on the ship, and I think it was definitely a transition. It was a very intense transition because because this is my ship, this is my permanent ship. So when I came back, I actually flew in that morning. So I flew in from New York at like 6 a.m. to get to New Orleans at 11:30, had a safety training at 1, then the guest safety briefing at 3, then the sail away party, then the welcome aboard show. So you're literally 0 to 100. So like it's an intense transition. But you get back into your groove. It takes maybe a cruise to kind of like, all right. And then it feels like, all right, it's fine. It feels like you weren't even home. It feels like you're just back in the groove. And then when that 4 months is over, you're like, oh, okay, then you're ready for home.
I cannot wait to go back home. I'm from Connecticut, so I really miss the snow and
Okay.
everything. So can't wait to
It's
fly
still
back
snowing,
home.
right?
Oh yeah, they got a couple feet over the week.
That's crazy, I know.
What is your favorite activity?
So what's your favorite activity to host?
Favorite activity to host? Being part of all the entertainment and crazy fun, I think my favorite activity is our military appreciation gathering.
Okay.
You just get to take a step back, and it's just so real. And it's such an honor to host it, and you just see the love and support in the room, and it's just the emotions are high, and it's just so nice to give our veterans recognition they deserve.
Are you able to plan your own activities, or do you have to follow a certain agenda or curriculum set by Carnival?
So we have Carnival approved activities because we need blurb approvals for our fun times, for all of our information. But if we do have an idea or activity that we would like to add, there's a process by which it can happen. It's just a little bit tricky on those shorter cruises because there's certain activities we have that are Carnival must, that guests expect to have,
Yep.
and we of course host. And so it's hard to find a little bit of extra time to add in my own flair. But of course, no matter what activity you host, you always add your own personality to it. So it's
What
fun
are
that
some
way.
of the Carnival must activities on the ship that
Ooh,
that you would recommend people have to go to or should go to?
The Very Hairy Chess Contest, that is always a Carnival classic. The Love and Marriage game show is always great. Of course, any sail away party, our mega deck party at night under the stars is always fun. And then, of course, you just have the classic karaoke, the classic comedy, you have the classic trivias. And
Magic shows.
Magic show. Well, not every ship has magic show. We're actually really special here on board the Carnival Triumph because we're one of the few ships that are still 1.0. So a lot of the ships in the fleet have turned 2.0, which means they've kind of transitioned their shows into more of a visual 2.0 show in the sense that they have a group of performers who are singers who dance and dancers who sing.
Okay.
So their cast is smaller, so you just see different types of shows, but it's very visually based. Where our shows, it's still the classic show band, and it's still like the mini Broadway and what classic cruise ships are, and we love the shows here.
So I've been walking around, we've been seeing a lot of people with blue cards, brand new cruisers.
Yeah.
I used to be a brand new cruiser myself, last cruise. What would you recommend people to do on their ship? Because I know it's hard to hit every single spot, but what are some spots that they should see, and what do you think are some things that maybe they can hit another time?
If depending on when they get on board, I always recommend the ship tour. That's always on the first day because we're just basically there to give you information. So if you have questions, like that's a great place, and we give you a little trip around the ship because there's certain things that are tricky where, especially for the dining rooms, if you're in the front of the ship, deck 3 doesn't connect, so you have to go all the way up to 5, over, then back down to get to the other dining room, right? So there's little things like that. But I also recommend the Fun Ashore, Fun Aboard presentation because if you've never been outside of the country, or it's just a lot of useful information that I'll give you about the ports of call and what you need. And it always amazes me. People don't think they need their photo ID, and it's just like you think it's common sense, but it really isn't because everyone just feels so safe on a cruise ship. But it's like when you're off that cruise ship, you are in a different country.
Yeah.
So there's just like little things like that people don't necessarily think of. So that's why I recommend some informational as well as the fun.
I always make sure to bring my phone with me. I take a picture of my photo ID and my passport,
Right.
just in case they ever
Right.
lost it. I have some type of identification for it.
Yeah.
We actually have a lot more questions coming in for some of our members on Facebook as well.
Okay.
First of all, they get real antsy. They really want to see the boat.
So they really want to see a tour of the ship, which they can go back on some of our previous videos where we're covering tour by tour section of that.
Well, we offer like a behind the fun tour on board, where it's the only tour that really takes you into some of those crew areas that's the guests can't go in generally. So it takes you up to the navigational bridge to meet the captain. You go to the engine control room. You go to the galley. You go see where the crew live and eat. You go backstage to see how our shows operate, and you get to talk to all the experts of the different areas in those locations. So in every Carnival Fun ship, they have this tour. It's through the shore excursions desk, and it's always offered usually on the last sea day.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Is there a like a visual tour on any of the Carnival websites that kind of take you through the ship?
I'm not sure 100%.
Not sure?
No.
Okay. I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
Have you ever experienced bad weather? Does it affect your job?
Has there ever been any bad weather incidents before, or hurricanes, and how does that usually affect the ship? Because I know in the back they actually have a retractable pool cover, which was pretty cool, and I think pretty unique for this ship.
Yeah, I mean the layout of the ship is really nice for that sense. But no matter how big the ship is, if the ocean is moving, you feel it.
Oh yeah.
You feel the motion of the ocean, no matter what. And I think like the worst. I mean, I still remember is Voyage 280 on Freedom of the Seas. I was there, and it was we left Port Canaveral, and like 30 minutes after we left Port Canaveral, they actually closed the port because on unforeseen weather. So other ships were staying in port, but we were too far out to come back. So we literally had to go through the storm. And the ship, you'll be surprised how far the ship can list before there's any serious damage. But internally, if the ship lists even a little bit, like
you feel it.
Everything was breaking, like bottles from the bar were falling off. So it was a little scary.
Oh, wow.
Like the actual damage inside the ship and guests being around, and it got so bad where we literally had to make announcements and ask guests to go back to their staterooms and just wait for further information because it was that bad. It was just an unforeseen weather, and we had to go through it.
I think there's something very slight like that when we're on the Mississippi River. Someone was telling me about a turn that they do where they say, oh yeah, if you're in crew cabin, some of the drawers open up.
Oh yeah, I mean that happens more often than not, and you know what? But it doesn't matter how many years I've been at sea. There's just some days where you feel seasick no matter what. It depends on how much food you have in your stomach, like your emotional state, like how you're feeling that day. I mean, there's some days where I'm just in front of a computer and even just focusing in on the computer and like the motion, it hits you, and it's unfortunate, and it's tough because in order to not feel seasick, you have to take the seasickness tablets before you feel symptoms.
Exactly.
So after you feel seasick, you have no hope.
No hope at all.
It's just it's a rough journey.
Along with her and Jamie D, are there any other female cruise directors?
Are there any other female cruise directors besides yourself and Jamie D?
Yeah, we're coming up now, so it's really nice. They actually doubled since last year, so I think we have up to 10 now in Carnival. So it's really great to lead the way. And our Vice President of Entertainment, Sarah Beth, she's amazing, and she came into Carnival as like, we need more female power, and it's been a transition, because it's not stereotypical to see a female cruise director, but it's amazing how the cruise industry continues to change, and now we just hopefully want to get a few more female captains out there. There's a few. I think there's maybe 1 or 2 out there, but we need to start female powered up.
Do you have a role model that you kind of based your own career off of for other cruise directors?
Actually, you interviewed her, the lovely Susan McCall, when you went on a Royal. She was my first. She was one of my first activities managers, and our cruise director time was Chloe O'Connor, and we call her Hello Chloe, and just the two of them were just so inspirational, and it's what I hope to be for someone else in their future career, and hopefully I can help people get to where they want to be and be that inspiration for someone else wanting to be cruise director. Yeah.
How can I find out about a job with Carnival?
How can you find out about a job on Carnival? Is there specific training to become a cruise director, or do you have to kind of work your way up as you did?
Well, you can go to carnivalentertainment.com. That's a great starting point. And we also have an internship too, which is new. We started it last summer. And so if you're in college and trying to think about cruise ships, you actually can apply and be on board for a summer, for 3 months. And we have it in the Fun Squad position as well as the youth team. And during that internship, you get to interview with all the different departments and go from there. So you kind of get your foot in the door. But to go directly up to cruise director,
kind of have to
It
be
would
cruise
be
director to move over?
not
or?
necessarily, but you definitely need a show reel of your entertainment experience because they need to see how you are on stage, and you can't really necessarily do that in an audition. So it's unlikely that someone would become a cruise director without having any cruise ship experience, but there's always a few exceptions. You know, maybe from coming from hotels or you're hosting activities or events. So it just depends on the scenario, but it's all on carnivalentertainment.com. You can take a look.
So we always see you at the front of the house doing entertainment and a lot of the fun stuff. Tell us about some of the paperwork or back of the house type of stuff that you have to deal with.
Right, so it's really neat on Carnival because they recently started to go through this process of eliminating the assistant cruise director and creating our entertainment director. So our entertainment director, Spencer, he's managing the entire department.
Okay.
So guests don't really know who he is because he's doing a lot of back of house stuff. Now, as cruise director, I kind of took over the back of house role as the assistant cruise director. So my team directly under me, the fun squad, I manage them with the back of house. You know, but it's very limited. It's very minimal, so I can really be out with the guests and really just be there for the guest experience.
So does the cruise entertainer free up a lot more of your time now to be able to go out more, or how has that changed your career as a cruise director?
Well, I was never technically on river cruises, because that's where I first was cruise director. That's a whole different ballgame. So I've never actually been a cruise director where I managed the entire department. And I actually had no interest in that, and only came to Carnival, or applied to Carnival when I heard they were switching this position. So, because I have no interest in being stuck behind a computer, I wanted to be out. I wanted to be out and about more. And so when Carnival was saying, hey, you know, we have these two different positions, because you know it's tough to find someone who's amazing back of house and just as amazing front of house. You know, you usually find in the cruising industry, and especially with cruise directors I work with in the past, there are people who are really on top of their game when it comes to paperwork. You know, but they might not be as strong in front of house, or there's someone who's amazing and funny and just amazing on stage, but can't get anything done back of house. So, so Carnival is like, well, let's switch it up. Let's focus and hire people who are specific in these certain areas and not try to combine it, because they found that a lot of comments they're receiving, which is not just Carnival, but you know, universal for cruise lines, was that people weren't seeing the cruise director. And that's because no one really knew what a cruise director did. They had no idea what they had to do on a daily basis, managing the entire entertainment department.
Definitely draining.
Yeah.
Definitely draining.
Yeah, and they found that, you know, a cruise director maybe handling like a sensitive security issue with someone on their team, and then boom, they have to be on stage. You know, so it's where now if something happens, I know Spencer, the entertainment director, he's got it. So I don't have to worry about that. So it doesn't show on my face. So I can just literally be there for the guests. So it's great.
Honest guest complaint?
What is the most interesting or oddest guest complaint that you've ever received?
Ooh. This one really kind of saddens me because it was right around the holidays. It was right around Christmas, and we had like a mailbox to Santa. So people could, you know, kids could write what they want from Santa.
I already see where this is going.
And I read a few of them on the morning show, and there was this one little girl who just wrote that, you know, she just wanted her family to be happy and she wanted peace, and like it was just so moving and just so sweet and genuine. And so I sent her like a little trophy to her cabin and sent some strawberries and just said, you know what, you're right, you're totally right. The spirit of the holidays is all about giving, and I just want to give you a little something for reminding everyone what about the holiday spirit. And then her dad came to the guest services and was upset because she had siblings, which I didn't realize, and because I only sent her something, they thought Santa didn't love them. So it was just like, you try to do something nice, and it's just. So that was a tough day.
Ooh.
Yeah, you know, it's one of those things where it's just like, you try to be nice, but you know, but there's always a big picture, and you completely understand, you know, and so it had a negative impact on that guest's family, and it was, but you know, you live, you learn.
Yeah. Usually for our show on Saturdays, we try to do a new segment called the most interesting complaints that we receive from either guest services. One of the most interesting ones so far that I've read was that a woman complained about the ocean being too loud, and she talked to the cabin and different stewardess to stop it from being loud.
Oh, wow. See, that's why I give all the props to our amazing guest service associates, because they have the patience of a saint. I mean, they think cruise directors have patience, but they have the hardest. I feel like they have the hardest jobs.
I don't blame them at all. I couldn't do it. I am
Yeah.
not. I try to be real patient. You know, camera crew people know I'm
Yeah.
patient, but it's tough. It's definitely tough sometimes.
But it's not surprising. I mean, we have 3,400 guests every 5 days. You know what I mean? So just the level of it's just amazing the amount of people we work with and see, and so it doesn't surprise you. It never does.
Do you have one day out of the whole entire contract with Carnival that you remember much better than any of the others? That just kind of like sticks out? Like, this was the day that I remember and I will not forget it.
That's a tough question. Usually they're usually experience based. So like if I had an amazing day in port or just saw something that really reminded me of why I do what I do, but nothing too specific that sticks out. But I've definitely had like great days where you're just like in your element, and but nothing. Fortunately, just the voyage 280 when we had that rough weather. That's a day
you just
you
never
don't.
forget.
But other than that, nothing comes to mind.
Is there anything from land that you miss not having aboard the ship?
Ooh, I think a lot of crew members will say this too.
Besides
they miss,
one-ply toilet paper.
they miss pets. You know, you miss your
Pets.
dog, you miss your cat. And it's funny because we get together every year in a cruise director conference, and we were sitting down with our president, Christine Duffy, and it was just like I don't remember who brought it up. It was like every ship should have a mascot, like a pet.
Oh no!
And I can only imagine, but you know, I mean, there's so much research behind that, and you see, you know, just so who knows? Maybe
in the future. What do you think would be a good pet mascot for Carnival?
Oh, well, everyone would love a dog. You know, everyone would love to have a dog on board. I've heard people sneaking in turtles. I have not,
Interesting.
But I've heard there are ways. I have a few plants in my room, which is nice. They need a little life, but they can't ever leave the ship, so I can't take them off, but I can bring them on. Yeah, I think everyone crew member would just love a dog, but it'd be too much love. It'd have too much love.
Oh yeah.
It'd probably be overwhelmed by over 1,000 crew members wanting to pet
Just
this
pet them
dog.
all the time. Yep.
So we can't see it because of the camera angle. Could you show off your bow?
The bow. Yes. So I have
Very
11,
bedazzled.
and I found this lovely store in New Orleans, and started with 3, and then just got as many
Are
colors.
they all bedazzled?
Yeah,
or
they're the exact same bow, just different colors.
just different colors?
So that way you can always find me, and it's really helpful.
Nice. That was one of the reasons I always wore my big hat all the time, but
Yeah.
it got pretty windy last night, so I'm like, instead of just holding on to my hat, I'll just put it in the cab and deal with it
today
later
at
on.
Progresso, I can get really windy too.
So what's happening today? So it's Progresso Day, Port Day. Are there any shows going on usually while we're at port? Is there anything like activity-wise?
Usually in the afternoon. So in the afternoon we'll start kind of afternoon programming, like usually around 1 with a few activities in here. But mostly our port days are pretty quiet for activities because people are here to go off and explore, and especially in the Carnival Triumph, we have a lot of new cruisers. So not many, and the repeat guests who come on the ship, they enjoy the ports, but so our activities are kind of quiet during the day.
Do you ever deal with any of the kids from like Club O2 or I can't remember, Night Owls? I can't remember.
Right. I specifically take part in family-friendly activities. So we had our big Sousapalooza parade and story time. We'll have like our different deck parties that are family-friendly. But I specifically in the kids areas, not necessarily, no.
Okay, so that's who usually runs the kids clubs in our case.
Yeah. So we have a youth director, and they have an entire team. Yes.
That must require a lot of patience as
yes.
well.
And of course, a lot of, strict regulations. I mean, it's, so it's a little bit more intense than I feel like adult entertainment activities wise.
What is like a big no-no to do as a cruise director? Like, I'm sure you have like a bunch of rules, but there must be like #1 rule not to do.
There's always that line between professional and personal.
Okay.
And sometimes it's a gray area because you're always socializing, you're always walking around, but we have a zero tolerance policy for any fraternizing with guests. So, and it's tough because you do become close with some guests, and but you always have to have that level of professionalism the entire time, no matter how casual it gets, and just in general interactions. And especially that goes with our social media policy as well. They're really stressing to have a complete separate like Carnival-based Facebook page that's separate from your personal, because you need that separation.
Are you able to get like drinks with guests or eat dinner with them or do anything like those type of just like downtime activities?
Yeah, of course. I mean, we do have a very strict alcohol policy on board because technically I'm always on duty, right? If there's an emergency that happens, I'm the one making the announcements. But of course, if a guest offers to buy me a drink and I have the time and I'm off duty, I'd be more than happy to have a drink with them. Yes.
I also accept drinks from guests too, just throwing that out there.
Yeah.
What is the equivalent of a guest cabin to?
So what's the difference between a guest cabin versus one of your cabins?
Right, so it depends on what position you have on board. So we have crew members and they have bunk beds, so there's 2 to a room, and they share their bathroom with the next cabin. So it's kind of like dorm-like. And then there's staff members who are still 2 to a room, but there's a bathroom right inside their cabin.
Okay.
And then there's supervisors who will have about the same size room, but instead of bunk beds, they have their own bed and they have their own bathroom, so they'll have their own room. And then you get up to senior officers who have not only a bedroom, bathroom, but also like a living office area as well. And then you get to the captain who he has all of deck 8. I mean, so it's nice. But I guess one big perk, I have a bathtub, so that's always nice. And actually on our Spirit class ships, the cruise director is on deck 8 close to the bridge, and they actually have a balcony. So
that's real nice.
yeah, it's definitely a great perk. And that's, it's great motivation for crew members as well to want to move up that ladder for besides the career perk, but just also the living perk, because we live and work here, it means it's a huge difference not having a roommate.
So talk more about like crew life exactly. So we see, crew members doing their jobs, but how do they act, when they're kind of down below at crew bar, at the mess hall, or?
Yeah, so depending on, once again, on your position, we have some crew members might have guest area privileges, where if they're off duty, they're more than welcome to have a drink in a guest bar and, go to our nightclub. But we do have crew-specific areas for people to unwind where they're not in guest areas, which is nice. So, and we have an amazing HR team, so they coordinate and plan crew events. And they even do crew tours, so crew members can see the different sites in Cozumel and Progresso.
Oh, nice.
And crew parties and crew events. So they really, happy crew is happy guests.
Exactly.
And, they really try to beat that and do that for the crew members.
Do a lot of crew, if they have guest privileges, want to get a drink at a bar up here? Or I heard it's a lot cheaper to get drinks at crew bars.
There is a different in price level, yes. But sometimes it's more of like a night out for them, because our crew bar is like, your bar at home that everyone goes to, you're a regular at. So when you have a nice occasion or want to get out in the town, right, you'll go to a different bar, and that's kind of like what it is for us to go to a guest bar. And usually the #1 bar is the Alchemy Bar. A lot of crew members
my favorite bar too, yep. Good bar.
Especially because the drinks are so different, because we don't get those drinks in the crew bar, so.
What type of drinks do you normally get down there?
It's just pretty basic, but nothing too intense like
Gotcha.
vacation cocktails, nothing like that, no.
Do you have a favorite ship?
Do you have a favorite ship that you've been on?
Favorite ship? Well, I've been mostly on this ship, the Carnival Triumph. I was here last July and did 6 months until January. Went home, came back. I was also on the Carnival Liberty for a short while, which is just a little bit bigger than this class. The Conquest class is a little bit bigger, and I liked the lobby a lot better in the Liberty, because it was a little bit bigger and had like a mini stage. Where this stage is like right behind the bar, so it's hard to interact with guests. But this stage, there's a stage, and then the bar was back here, so you had all that room. So like running a music trivia was just fun, and any activity, because guests could be right there.
If you're on vacation on another ship and the the director kind of slips, falls, or has like an injury on there, would you think you'd be able to just jump on and take over right there? Or are there rules where you're not allowed to kind of do that?
So I'm sorry, if I was like just cruising?
If you're just kind of cruising along on another ship and the other cruise director over there had like an injury, or like right before like an entertainment event, do you think you'd be able to jump on and do that, or are you not allowed to do that?
That would be a very interesting scenario, but you know what? That's what we train our fun squad for. And I wouldn't want to steal someone's opportunity to have a chance to shine in that terrible circumstance.
Exactly.
If worst came to worst, I'm sure like I could call the office and be like, hey, I'm on the ship. Let me know if I need to go into work mode, and they could probably do it. But like I said, that'd be pretty rare.
In an event,
and plus, I'd have to be cruising on vacation. I don't know if I would really do that.
Just like, no.
But you know what? I would cruise because part of the Carnival Corporation, being under the umbrella of our sister cruise lines, we get some pretty nice discounts to go on Holland, you know, and so I've always thought it'd be nice to do that when I'm on vacation, to try different lines and one of our sister lines to see, you know, because we want to keep seeing what's out there in the cruise industry, because it keeps growing and it just keeps getting bigger and bigger, and you wonder, like, what is next? What is possibly can be next in the cruise industry? It's amazing.
So what are some of the new ships that are coming out?
Yeah, well, they're working right now on the horizon there, so I keep seeing picture updates, and that's gonna be very similar to Vista, pretty much the same layout. But then there's they're contracted to build even bigger ships after that.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, so they're going bigger, which is good and bad. You know, some guests really love the small ships, some guests like the big ships. So it's very interesting to see. Like I said, the cruise industry in general, it just keeps growing and growing, and it's just constant competition for the newest and biggest ship.
Have you ever met John Hurd?
Have you ever met John Harold before?
John Heald, yeah. He's our senior cruise director, and he leads the troops, and he was at our cruise director conference. So I had the privilege of meeting him then, and yeah, it's amazing. He's inspiration. He has an amazing group of followers, and he lives and breathes Carnival. He's our brand ambassador, so, and a pretty funny guy too.
Nice.
Yeah.
So what's your schedule look like for the rest of the voyage for this week?
So let's see. For Progresso and Cozumel, you'll mostly see me at night for the big entertainment. So we have a big magic show tonight. We have a burlesque show tonight, and then then Cozumel night we have some more of our game shows. So we'll be doing like a gender showdown, or love and marriage, or make a deck party, and then on the last day a little bit of everything. So always keeping you busy.
So Jared Martindale wants us to thank you for him for making his first.
So
cruise
Jared
experience
Martindale wants to thank you for making his first cruise experience so wonderful.
Oh, and that's exactly why I love what I do. You mean I have the impact to really make or break someone's vacation, and it reminds you why you love what you do. Because I mean, there are days where you feel like, I feel like everyone has those days where you feel like you should be doing more for the benefit of society, for like helping the world in some way. And then I have guests like that, and you never know what they're going through.
Yeah.
You never know what's going on in their life, and just a simple hello, how are you, how's your cruise, it just makes a difference, and I'm happy to do it.
I don't want to take up too much of your time.
Yeah,
I know you have
fine.
nice
I know I
relaxing
talk
day.
a lot, so I'm sorry.
So final question, if
Yes.
you could switch jobs with any other member on the ship, whose job would you be most interesting to switch with?
It's very funny. I was actually having this conversation with the entertainment director the other day, and we were talking about it. And you know what? I said I wouldn't mind being like a training and development manager for our crew, because they're all about the positivity of our crew, and they do some fun trainings. And I always thought that would be fun to kind of switch from the guest side and be there specifically for the crew. That'd be kind of interesting. Or the magician who goes around the dining room. If I had those skills, that's amazing. I wish I could just do that, do some magic. And but our magician, Mark, he has the best gig because he flies in and out. So he only does the magic show on the 5-day. So he'll fly in for those 2 cruises, and then he has a full 4-day at home. So it's like, that's pretty sweet too. But
Pretty nice.
I think I'd work in like the HR department and be there for the crew.
Nice. Well, thank you so much for
Yes,
doing
it's
this
been
with
a
us.
pleasure.
I hope we didn't take up too much of your time
Oh, no,
for your
you're
free
fine.
time.
You're fine. If anyone has more questions, I'm on Facebook as well, Jess from the US. So cool. Be
And
happy
guys,
to
if
answer.
you weren't able to find this interview live with us on Facebook, you can also check it back on our website, cruiseweek.tv. Like, subscribe us for more information, also to keep track from any of our other live feeds in the future. And as always, guys, we'll see you on the ship.